7. Somebody is moving on to a super regional. Mississippi State and Oklahoma. Our number 1 seed, Florida State, bounced in 2 games. So a shocking turn of events here in Tallahassee. It has been one of those memorable NCAA tournament regionals.
I'll be the one.
And who will be the one today? The one that will meet Vanderbilt, as the Commodores just rolled right through Clemson, and they have made it to the Super Regionals. And in a couple of hours, we will find out who their partner will be, and they'll be one step away from Omaha and the College World Series. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dave Neal. This is College Baseball Hall of Famer Todd Walker. Glad you could join us. And, boy, this has been a unique, strange kind of event. We've been here long hours, long days, and we've come down to this one final game. Oklahoma got shellacked last night, a little return for Mississippi State. But offensively, though, the Sooners have been swinging the bats pretty well this weekend.
Well, for Oklahoma, it's been all about the offense.
Yeah.
42 hits and 29 runs in 3 games. That's insane, and that's without Skip Johnson's 2 best hitters in this lineup. So it's all about the offense for Oklahoma.
365 average in this regional, and they have certainly played well at the plate. They'll need some of that pitching to go with that hitting today if they want to have some success. Meanwhile, Mississippi State, of course, they lose their opening game to the Sooners, 20-10. Didn't know where that team was mentally, but they've done what they did like last year, where they've won consecutive games to get to a regional final. They won in Hattiesburg last year. Again, offense has been the key for them.
Yeah, Mississippi State, how about these guys? 9 home runs in this regional in 4 games. I mean, they are just hitting the ball over the fence with ease. Dustin Skelton on opening night, Rowdy Jordan, Jake Mangum, Tanner Allen with 2, and big hit Mac, Elijah McNamee with the game winner against Florida State. 9 home runs for a team that was dead last in the SEC in that category.
This is a team that hit 277 in the regular season, but for some reason they have found their swing, their comfort zone here in Tallahassee. They are just pounding the baseball. They're hitting over 300 as a team, but the 9 home runs, and you see 32 in the first 56 games. Been a different story for the Bulldogs. They have won 7 straight elimination games in regional play. Can they keep it alive, or does today belong to the Sooners? Well, Mississippi State designated as the visiting team, so Gary Henderson fills out his card like this. Jake Mangum has been a great story this tournament. He's been a great story for Mississippi State the last 3 years at the top of this lineup. He is hitting .412 in this event. This is a lineup that they have used throughout, with Jordan behind him, Allen, Stovall, McNamee, Foscue, Alexander, Skelton, and Westberg. And the guy that they'll try to hit is on the mound, Levi Prater, a youngster, a left-hander who has been mostly out of the bullpen. He is making his 33rd appearance, but just his 4th starts.
Huge wipeout slider from Levi Prater. Cut fastball, abnormal 3-quarter delivery, 88 to 91. 168 batting average against. He's going to be tough on everybody in this Mississippi State lineup, but especially Tanner Allen, the only left-hander in the lineup out of the 3-hole. First 2 guys, Jake Mangum and Rowdy, are switch hitters. They'll hit from the right side, but he's tough to hit. A lot of balls coming into righties, away from lefties.
Mississippi State seeking their 15th NCAA regional title. Oklahoma seeking their 15th NCAA regional title, but their first since 2013. The Bulldogs won regional titles in 16 and 17, going for their 3rd straight, and we are now underway as Jake Mangum looks at ball 1.
Only the 4th start for Levi Prater, as you mentioned. He's used to coming out of the bullpen, which is why you'll see him pitch from the stretch all day today.
Prater top 20 in the country in appearances. The freshman 3-3 on the year. You talked to Skip Johnson, the head coach at Oklahoma, about Prater, and he just immediately smiles like they have got themselves a gem on the mound. Mangum fly ball out to center field. Cody Harris will be there to make the catch, and that'll be the first out.
That's huge for Oklahoma. Yesterday in 2 games for Mississippi State, Jake Mangum got base hits to lead off the game in both. A home run against Samford, base hit last night against Oklahoma in game number 1 of these finals.
Hey, getting them out. the leadoff batter for Mississippi State, has reached 19 of 36 times. So Mangum has certainly done his job as a leadoff man for the Bulldogs. As we go to Rowdy Jordan, the freshman left fielder. Rowdy at .319 on the year with 7 home runs, 32 runs batted in, 13 doubles.
Well, Rowdy has definitely been rowdy in this tournament for sure. 8 hits. Thomas Hughes on the other side for Oklahoma also with 8 hits in this regional.
Rowdy came into this event hitting .305. He's pushed it up to .319. Eight for 19 here in the regional. .421 clip with a couple of home runs.
That's what's interesting about the college baseball game, Dave, is your average keeps going through the postseason. In the big leagues, once the season's over, it's cut, and you start over in the postseason. But here in college baseball, they keep the stats all the way to the end.
So a 4-pitch walk will get Jordan down to first. And here comes Tanner Allen, another 300 hitter.
This is a tough at bat for Tanner Allen. Again, Levi Prater's going to be releasing the ball behind him basically and creating an angle all the way to the outside corner of the plate. So as a left-handed hitter, you really have to pay attention to stay on. Let it travel. And there's a prime example right there. Too much angle lefty on lefty matchup. If you try to pull this ball at all, you're in trouble.
Eleven teams have already punched their tickets to the Super Regionals.
I mean, a lot of times they talk about as hitters cutting the field in half, meaning up the middle the other way. But in this particular case, I think you almost got to cut it in thirds. For Tanner Allen, he's got to look to the what they call the 5.5 hole between short and third.
Pulls it to the right side. Hughes, who's getting the start at first, will make the throw down to second, and they will get Jordan 2 outs in the inning.
And that's where Levi Prater can get you. Once you have to, as a left-handed hitter, look the other way, he can bury that ball inside and jam you up. But you can't cheat to get to that ball because you'd swing and miss at everything else he'll throw at you.
So here's Hunter Stovall, the junior second baseman. Stovall's had a tough regional, just 3 for 16. Does have a couple of RBIs. Only 1 strikeout, so he's putting the ball in play, but nothing to show for it.
But man, he can pick it at second base. Made a beautiful play on opening night, up the middle, backhands, pirouette, throw out first base.
There's a strike to Stovall, 1-1. Mississippi State has made 7 super appearances since the format began in 1999. Oklahoma's been there 4 times prior, trying to make it 5 with a win today. Again, it's just a remarkable story for Mississippi State. The same scenario last year, losing their opening game at Hattiesburg, won 4 straight to get to a Baton Rouge Super Regional. Put in the same situation again this week in Tallahassee and playing for a chance to go to a Super again. Ground ball out to short. Zaragoza with an easy short toss to second. So no damage done after the walk. So the Sooners coming to the plate. Cade Harris been having a good tournament. He'll start things off. Oklahoma coming to the plate here in the Tallahassee Regional. Cade Harris at the top of this lineup has been solid for the Sooners. He will lead a troop that looks like this. Zaragoza will hit second, Briley Ware, and that's Brady Lindsley hitting cleanup. Thomas Hughes, they haven't been able to get him out this weekend. Hadn't played very much this year, but he's been tough. Mendenhall, Mitchell, Brewster, and Dorenzo round out the 9 for Skip Johnson. On the mound for Mississippi State, J.P. France, his third opportunity to pitch here in Tallahassee. He hasn't thrown just a little bit less than 60 pitches, so should be okay to go give him 3, 4. If they're quick innings, maybe 5. But what do you like about JP, the senior?
Yeah, they're really hoping to stretch him out to 5. I'm not sure if that's feasible or not. JP France has thrown in 2 games of this regional already. He's a graduate transfer from Tulane. Started at Tulane, but this is only his second start of the year since coming over to Mississippi State. Over the top, 90-93 cut fastball. He can run that 4-seamer up 94 miles an hour. Kind of a split-action slurve, more depth than a slider. Into left, away from right-handers.
First pitch to Cade Harris. Misses, 92 miles an hour.
Andy Canizaro being a Tulane guy. J.P. France came over when Canizaro got the job.
Oh, high chopper out to second. Stovall will make the play and throw over to first for the first out of the inning. J.P. France out of Luling, Louisiana.
That's right.
It's not too far from New Orleans, from what I hear.
You can say that just about any city in Louisiana, be right. It's not too far. That's going to be my standard answer from now on. Where is Luling? It's near west of New Orleans.
Take us to the 2-hole hitter. Brandon Zaragoza, the shortstop. Zaragoza in 3 games, 6 for 17 with a double. Has 4 runs batted in as he looks at a strike. Zaragoza out of Moore, Oklahoma, the sophomore. Has started every game for the Sooners this year. He looks at another strike. Todd, what do you think about, you always like to figure out who maybe has an advantage when this thing begins. The way this has played out, who does have an advantage here today?
Well, they're eerily similar. I mean, both teams mash and have mashed for these games. Mississippi State has an extra game on Oklahoma because they had to come through the losers bracket, but it's going to be a lot of hitting today. It's going to be a whole staff situation for both teams, but their seasons are on the line, so Mississippi State has a lot of depth in the bullpen, but so does Oklahoma today, which is not always the case when you get to this game 7.
Ground ball out to Stovall again. 4-3 put out, 2 down. Okay, who's got the advantage?
Oh, man. I think they're similar. I would tell you if I thought that one team had a distinct advantage. I mean, Pilkington's in the pen for Mississippi State. He's their Friday night guy. Oklahoma has their dude, too.
Jake Irvin is available.
Jake Irvin's available. So, not for a long time,
right.
But they'll use them, in a tight situation, middle into this ball game. So the depth is there in the bullpen for both teams, which, again, isn't normally the case. Mississippi State, like I said, have played an extra game, so you'd have thought they'd busted through most of their guys, but they're healthy.
There's Bradley Ware stepping in the first pitch strike. I'll say this. Here's why. I'm going to lead toward Mississippi State for this one reason. Every team that's been in the third base dugout has won.
Undefeated in the third base dugout, so we go off of that. But Oklahoma's banged out 14 hits per game in this tournament. And they're not facing Randy Johnson today, so it's been really impressive what Oklahoma's done offensively. I can't say enough. We've run it in the ground about, the fact they don't have Kyler Murray and they don't have Steele Walker. Steele Walker hit 350 this year, one of the better hitters in the country. And any team that loses their 3- and 4-hole guys are going to struggle, but not Oklahoma.
You like how I break it down, though, with my numbers?
That's in-depth analysis right there. For sure.
Dugouts play a key part. 2-1 on Ware. Briley, the third baseman for the senior. The junior fouls it straight back. Big hack at it. 2-2 the count.
And I guess the more legit stat is the first team that has scored is 5-1. So I always say that with college kids, they're so emotional, more so than big leagues, that you get off to an early lead, their confidence goes through the roof, and they can feed off that the rest of the game.
Another ground ball. Stovall getting some work here to start things off. We have played one here at Dick Howser Stadium. We are scoreless. The road to Omaha. We'll have some regional headlines when we come back. Some regional headlines for you. 11 teams have already punched their super tickets. Washington, Stetson, Minnesota, welcome to the party. They're making their first appearance in a super regional program history. And what can you say about Vanderbilt yesterday? 9 home runs. Connor Kaiser with 3 of those. Connor with a grand slam, a 3-run homer, and a 2-run homer yesterday. Just a remarkable performance by the Commodores up in Clemson against the Clemson Tigers. Elijah McNamee at the plate for the Bulldogs. And the SEC having some great success here in the 2018 NCAA Regional. They have 3 teams already in. 5 teams have a chance to get through today or tomorrow, depending on how the weather plays out. Hopefully all the regionals will be completed today. Swing and a miss by McNamee. Here's the guy that became a cult hero, if he wasn't already, for Mississippi State with a 1-2 count, 2 outs, bottom of the 9th inning, 2 on, trailing 2-0. He goes yard, a walk-off 3-run blast against the Seminoles, sending Florida State packing and keeping Mississippi State alive.
That was dramatic. I mean, people in Starkville, if not elsewhere, will remember that forever. Down to their last strike, they were going to lose to Florida State 2-0, 2 guys on, and big hit Mac, 3-run homer on a changeup.
Boy, that one out to right field, kept going and going, but Dom Dorenzo finally gets a glove on it. That was hit a little harder than Dom anticipated.
Well, the ball's flying to right field for sure. That ball's middle of the way, and this is what you're seeing Mississippi State do in this whole tournament is go the other way. They're doing it better than anybody and just getting base hit after base hit right there in right field. It's tough to read it. Lorenzo's in there, hasn't been in there, the entire tournament. Hit a big blast last night as a pinch hitter, but it's tough to read out there because the ball just flies.
Here's Foscue stepping in. Justin Foscue, the third baseman, 253 on the year. At .312 in conference play. And that one is picked up on a hop by Ware, across the diamond, and Hughes there to make the catch over at first base. That'll be 2 down.
If you watch Mississippi State take batting practice, almost every ball off of their bat is a line drive the other way. I mean, it's incredible. And the theory is that as you grow up, everybody can pull it. Everybody's learned to pull it. Most guys are pull hitters when they grow up. You have to learn to hit the ball the other way, let the ball travel, however you want to term it. And the hitting coach over there, Jake Gautreaux from Mississippi State, really puts an emphasis on letting the ball travel. And again, if I were to sum up hitting, it'd be the ability to stay back on off speed, fastballs away, but react inside. And the issue arises with a lot of hitters is they're not quick enough on the inside corner, so they start cheating, and it makes you susceptible to all the off speed. But if you're quick enough on the inside corner, but you can hit the ball the other way, and you've got hitting down. It's easier said than done, of course. But I always walk to the plate predetermined I'm going up the middle the other way. And if that pitcher proved to me he could come inside, then I would adjust my thinking. But until that point, I was going the opposite field.
Luke Alexander ahead in the count 2-0 against Levi Prater, but gets it to pop up the 2-0 pitch to the right side. Second baseman Mendenhall tells everybody, I got it, and he has it. So a good inning for Prater. 1, 2, 3. When we come up, 4, 5, and 6 for the Sooners. Scoreless after an inning and a half.
The NCAA Baseball Regionals is presented by the Capital One Saver Card. Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and 2% on groceries. And in part by Lexus Hybrids, crafted to be as fast as H. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. And Modelo Especial, brewed with a fighting spirit since 1925.
I mean, if you were with us last night, there's Jordan Westberg, the DH, a freshman, hitting ninth in the lineup. In the second inning last night, still just, it's kind of one of those things that's hard to kind of put it together. But he grabs a banana, and that becomes his friend for the entire game. Talked to the banana throughout the evening, carried it around with him, and
had it on his head, used it as a mustache. One time he got in a fight with it.
But as soon as he grabbed that banana and hung out with it, Mississippi State started hitting the baseball. Matter of fact, they put up an 8 spot in the 3rd inning last night. And so now Jordan has a new best friend, and it's the banana. And it's back out today. Brady Lindsley, the sophomore catcher, behind 0-2, and a swing and a miss down in the dirt. And that one gets away from Skelton, and he's going to reach. I think Skelton might have just kicked it. Literally kicked it.
Oh, nasty curveball by J.P. France. Gets in the zone, yeah, and then he goes to pick it up with his bare hand and just kicked it down the first baseline. Unfortunate for Mississippi State. Oklahoma has their leadoff guy on.
Well, now the Bulldogs will have to get 4 outs this inning, as the freebies down at first in the form of Brady Lindsley. Now Thomas Hughes, who has had 1 regional here. When you talk about a guy that hadn't played a whole bunch this entire season, he has been a tough out. He is 8 for 13, a .615 clip.
A lot of times teams will pick off to see if that hitter is in fact bunting. I mean, we're in the 2nd inning, but you never really know. Thomas Hughes, like you said, have been hot all tournament. The other thing you can see is the bat head. When it starts to get a little more still than it would otherwise, that guy's bunting. So he's got a little wiggle. Now they pick off, not to pick off the runner, but to see if they get any indication from Thomas Hughes that he's going to square around again. Foskew's up in his face down the 3rd baseline. He's got to be perfect with the bunt to deaden it down the 3rd baseline. Otherwise, they're going to get the force in 2nd.
Hughes had started just 3 games all year, but he has started every contest in this regional. I would say that he has the hot hand, 500 hitter as postseason has rolled along.
Oh, it's incredible. Today's only his 7th start of the year. He's come on late and at the right time.
2-0. Tries to lay the bunt down, 2-1. Of course, Thomas played for his dad last year. Pete was the head coach at Oklahoma, now a volunteer assistant with the University of Georgia. Things just didn't work out between Coach Hughes and Oklahoma, and they went their separate ways. And Skip Johnson was the pitching coach, and he's now the skipper of Oklahoma here in 2018. Has to be tough on Thomas, that the way that whole dynamic kind of played out.
Yeah, Pete now at Georgia. Surprised Thomas didn't move on. It's credit to Skip Johnson and their relationship. Thomas stayed. And if they're in fact bunting, he's going to have to push that ball towards 2nd base. Those corners are crashing on him hard. By now, everybody knows he's bunting. Of course, with a 3-1 count, you could switch to a hit and run. You know a fastball's coming, put the runner in motion. Make sure the guy swings the bat.
And that one misses inside. 1st and 2nd, nobody out. Let's get our first update of the day and go to Chris Cotter in the studio. Thank you very much, Chris. Duke will have to beat Georgia twice today. Of course, there's a lot of activity due to some rain. A lot of teams could play double headers today, depending on how games play out. Chris will be on top of that all afternoon for us. Here, it's just one game. It's the only game 7 of the regionals on this Monday, as Kyle Mendenhall steps in. First and 2nd, they'll pinch the corners. There's the bunt. That'll be fielded by the 3rd baseman, Foskew. He throws over to Stovall. They get the out, but the job is done. Runners 2nd and 3rd down for the Sooners.
I don't love the sack bunt, getting the guy from first to second. You're giving the other team an out, and then you're asking your guys to get a base hit down and out in the inning. But first and second, you move the guy over to third with less than 2 outs. Even though it's the 7-hole, Justin Mitchell, who's been hitting up in the lineup in this tournament, moved down to the 7-hole today. It makes the job a little less difficult at the plate. All he has to do is put it in the outfield somewhere or up the middle, get the run home.
Justin Mitchell, freshman catcher, 239 on the year. But 6 of 13 here in the regional. A couple of runs batted in. We'll watch that pitch up in the strike zone. Boy, J.P. France had the strikeout of the leadoff batter, Brady Lindsley, but ball down in the dirt, and Skelton couldn't corral it and get the throw to first to get him out.
Bottom half of this lineup for Oklahoma has been really good. Again, Justin Mitchell was hit up in the lineup until today. Now he's in the 7-hole, but Justin has 6 hits in this tournament. Blake Brewster's been hot as well, hitting behind him.
And Oklahoma's been really good at getting runners in from third base with less than 2 outs. 12 of 17 have come in to score in that scenario. There's a strike, 1-1.
And then Dominic Dorenzo has been put in the 9-hole for today. Hit a huge blast to left field yesterday, which is why he's in the lineup today. But ordinarily you would think, first base open and 1 out. Mississippi State doesn't mind walking him. That sets up the double play. If he does get in the hitter's count, he's not just going to pipe it right down the middle to give him an opportunity to get the first 2 runs in. Try to hit his spots. If he misses, that's okay.
2-1. Again, the third appearance of this tournament for J.P. France out on the mound for Mississippi State. He threw 40 pitches in game 1 against Oklahoma. His other outing was just 17 pitches. There's a ground ball out to short. Alexander's only play is going to be over to first, so Oklahoma strikes first.
Continuing the trend of the guy that gets on base with no outs to lead off an inning scores. And Lindsley gets across for the first run, even though he struck out. Got to first base, got around on the sac bunt. Justin Mitchell does his job for Oklahoma.
2 down in the inning, and that keeps Thomas Hughes out at second base. And that'll bring up Blake Brewster. The team that scores first in this regional, 5-1 so far. See if that stat holds true on this Monday afternoon. Brewster out in left field. A sub-200 hitter. Just 196 on the year. Lifts this one out to left. Rowdy Jordan will chase it down, but Oklahoma gets one on the board, and they lead 1-0. When we come back, we'll visit with the skipper of the Bulldogs, Gary Henderson. Skipper of the Bulldog program, Gary Henderson, joining us right now. Coach, here it is, the one game that sends you to the Super or back home. Do you manage this scenario any different than any other game here in this regional?
Oh, no, I don't think so. Obviously each game brings its own challenges from what you're going to do with your bullpen and who's available and how fresh they are and, the matchups and like that. But other than that, you need to win.
Coach, you get the strikeout to lead off the inning, but he gets on first base. I mean, how huge was that just to minimize the damage in that inning?
Well, you can't overstate it because sometimes those things get guys frustrated and they get out of themselves a little bit and try to do more than they can or force the strikeout on the next guy or whatever it is. But we talk a lot about it, minimize the damage, put a single run up, and you really, really increase your chances of winning.
All right, Gary, thanks for joining us. Good run so far.
Thank you.
Fly ball out to center off the bat of Skelton. That'll be chased down out there by Harris. That'll be the first out of the inning.
Well, and if we, when we talk about the emotion of these 18, 19-year-old kids, before the break or during the break, we were talking to Gary about just how they reacted. You get the strikeout, but he gets on first. Thomas Hughes walks. He got first and second, nobody out. Oklahoma only able to push one across, and that's a huge sigh of relief for his Mississippi State team, who, you give up 3 or 4 in that inning, it's tough to recover, but only one, you can stay positive about that.
Well, here is Jordan Westberg, the designated hitter, the freshman. Slaps it out to center field, and Harris there to make a catch. 2 down. And for those that don't know the story of Mississippi State, it's been a remarkable one. Last year, very similar situation in terms of having to rally through a regional. They got to a super behind Brent Rooker, a Triple Crown winner, and then their coach, after the opening series this year, Andy Cannizzaro, resigns abruptly. In the midst of all that, their stadium was being rebuilt, and they had to play a bunch of games on the road, but they still found a way in the second half of the season to go 9-1 against top 10 teams and found their way as a 2 seed here to the Tallahassee Regional.
They lost 4 of their first 5 SEC weekend series before sweeping Arkansas. And the story for Mississippi State this year is how well they've played against the better teams. Sweep Florida, sweep Arkansas, 3 of 4 from Ole Miss, and have done what they've done in this regional so far. It's been pretty remarkable considering how they started.
34-26 on the year now. They finished 500 in conference play at 15-15. You see the difference, their RPI. Oh, what a play over there at third by Ware. And did he get him? Oh, yes, he did. What a job by Briley Ware. My goodness. We move to the bottom of the 3rd inning in a 1-0 Oklahoma game, and first man up, Dominic Dorenzo. The right fielder for the Sooners will step in. Boy, he hit a moonshot home run last night against this Mississippi State team that ended up beating Oklahoma 13-5.
Yeah, 2-run blast by Dominic Dorenzo in the 7th inning. No doubter. Pinch hitting for Lindsley.
Swing and a miss on 3 pitches. Second strikeout for J.P. France, first of the inning. And the lineup will flip back to Cade Harris now. J.P. France transferred in from Tulane.
He spent 3 years at Tulane primarily as a starter, so he's used to this. Again, only his 2nd start of the year, but J.P. France, it's not foreign for him to be out there early in baseball games. And predominantly out of the pen for Mississippi State this year.
He received his undergraduate degree at Tulane in Homeland Security Studies. Hope you had your press pass on when you walked by him this morning.
Was he checking people at the gate before he got the start?
1-1 on Harris. That one a little bit low. 2-1. And you mentioned that the connection was really with Coach Andy Cannizzaro when he was at Mississippi State, and Andy, of course, a New Orleans guy as well. But those J.P. France and Andy Cannizzaro have known each other since J.P. was 11 years old.
There's so many storylines, too. They were, again, Mississippi State 1 strike away from going home. But one of the ones that's pretty cool is Jacob Billingsley, the pitcher yesterday, is a senior. He thought his career was over. Wanted to pitch in that game, didn't get in. And McNamee hits the 3-run homer to keep him alive. Jacob Billingsley starts yesterday. And J.P. France, who's already graduated, and that home run kept a couple careers alive, at least for a few more games.
Well, that'll get Cade Harris down to first base with 1 out. Billingsley last night, or a couple of nights when he got a chance to pitch in Game 1 yesterday, pitched very well. And Mississippi State only had to use 2 pitchers last night in Denver McQuarrie and Cole Gordon. It's Skip Johnson, meanwhile, went through 6 pitchers, but he used a lot of guys that were just trying to eat up some innings to keep his top arms ready to go, and that worked out well for the Sooners today as Zaragoza fouls that straight back. And again, Jake Irvin, their big donkey on Friday nights in Big 12 play, to go out and give him a couple of innings if needed today as well.
Yeah, long day for Mississippi State yesterday. Got to the ballpark about 9 a.m., played Sanford, beat them. Had to play Oklahoma last night. Had some delays along the way. Didn't get out of here till midnight. They didn't use too many pitchers, considering they played 2 9-inning games.
For J.P. France, just his 2nd start of the year, his 23rd appearance. Let's get a quick update. Chris Cotter, what's happening?
Hey, they don't draw pictures, man. They all count. Take every, in Chris's own words, I'll take every duck snort I can find. You need those.
Line to Stovall. Throw back to first, the double play. Zaragoza smacked it, but right at Stovall. Inning is over.
Kate Harris really had no chance. You take your secondary, ball's hit, you think you're going to third, right to second base. Double play for Mississippi State.
Back here in Tallahassee, trying to wrap up this regional here this afternoon. Levi Prater gets the start today for Oklahoma. What an amazing story this young man is. When he was around 2 years old, he was on his dad's lap riding on the riding lawnmower in their front yard, and he actually slipped off his dad's lap, fell down, got his hand caught in the blade, and it snapped off his fingers. As a 2-year-old, I can only imagine saying that story is what's going through the dad, the mom, that situation. They rushed him to the hospital, realized that he was going to lose 3 fingers. It's on his glove hand. But as a parent, you're wondering, what's this going to do to my child? But Levi, being a kid, never let it slow him down. The young man stayed with athletics and sports, had a love for baseball, kept playing it, figured out how to hit the bat, and has developed into a Division I big-time college pitcher, and has had to overcome that. And what's unique is that he's kind of had to work with the glove a little bit. That was the hardest part for him with baseball, was trying to catch it. He's figured out how to use his fingers in the mitt the best way possible to wrap it up. As you can see, it never slowed him down as a little leaguer. Learned how to swing the bat. And now he's pitching for the Oklahoma Sooners despite having that unfortunate incident as a youngster. And it's worked out quite well. Just a great story of resiliency.
You know, his motion reminds you of one of the probably the greatest left-handers in the history of the game, and he's pitching right now for Boston, Chris Sale. Now, Sale will give you 96, you know, with a slider that breaks 10 feet left to right, but very similar with the arm action, the arm angle. Prater's got a wipeout slider, too. He can get a swing and miss, especially from the lefties.
That ball's hit to left, playable for Blake Brewster. And that'll be the first out as Rowdy Jordan is retired. You know, and Levi Prater also has had to kind of battle a little bit of a back issue lately. Nothing major, but just a little tightness. And he has not pitched since the Big 12 tournament. So he is fresh and ready to go, even though that for Levi Prater, this is just his 4th start of the year. His first start came in early May. If he's rolling, you can believe Skip Johnson will let him go.
And he's only a freshman. He's going to get much better real quick under Skip Johnson. That's his thing. He's on the mound. Great Skip Bertman, who I played for at LSU. He was a pitching guy first. And that's what this game is. Look, they talk a lot about pitching and defense. Defense is easy when the pitching's great. And so this game revolves around those guys they throw out there on the mound. Levi Prater's going to be a good one.
His first start was against Kansas State, went 4 1/3 as the Sooners shut out Kansas State in that game. In fact, it was the first time that Oklahoma had back-to-back Big 12 shutouts since 2009. Prater threw 73 pitches in that game. Talking to Skip Johnson about Prater, it was funny. I said, so when did you realize that he would be a guy that you could just go to? I mean, he's, you know, when you think about appearances, this is his 33rd of the year. And he says when he got everybody out in fall ball, nobody could hit him.
Well, you can see why. I mean, look at this slider he's throwing up there, the little delayed delivery. And then he pumps that fastball in. That was really close. But as a hitter, especially a lefty, I mean, it's going to be a long day for Tanner Allen. But you can't cheat to hit that baseball right there, because if you do, and he throws that slider, you have zero chance. And so really you were guessing along, and the only chance you have is sit back on that slider and then react inside. But reaction doesn't even mean you're going to get the barrel on it. You're going to get jammed like Tanner Allen did his first at bat, and right there gets the walk. But that is a tough at bat for a left-handed hitter, and that's why he's been out of the pen. He's been used as a matchup guy, and you can see why.
Second walk of the game issued by Prater, who had retired 8 straight until that walk. And now Hunter Stovall, the cleanup hitter, will come to the plate for the Bulldogs. Out to center field. Harris to his right makes a catch. 2 down. Let's get another update. Chris. Thank you, Chris. Busy day. College baseball. Teams trying to close out their regionals. Other than this particular regional here in Tallahassee, there could be doubleheaders at every venue. Elijah McNamee 0 for 1 with a fly out. Hitting 5th in the Bulldog lineup. Fouls it straight back.
Well, we've been through our doubleheaders the last few days here in this regional. It's been long days. I know it has for the players. It certainly has been for us here in the booth.
So I decided to look up what was the longest Major League Baseball, 9-inning baseball game in Major League history. And it's 4 hours and 45 minutes. Red Sox, Yankees played a game back in 2006. We played a 9-inning game here on Friday between these two teams that lasted 4 hours and 42 minutes.
Missed it by 3 minutes.
Yep.
Felt like the record.
Oh, it did. It was 20-10 on the scoreboard. .442 in a 20-10 game.
That's a long time on the baseball field.
McNamee lets that one sail up and away, and this is what he did after that 20-10 game. McNamee down to their last strike. Bottom of the 9th, down 2-0, and he goes yard for the walk-off. When we came to the ballpark the next morning, yesterday morning, and talking to Elijah McNamee, he says he didn't even realize what had happened. He knew he hit the home run, but he didn't understand the significance of it until he got around first, and that's it. That's when he says he lost it.
That's how locked in you are at the plate, and that's what's amazing. And I did it plenty, not walk-offs, but just when you hit a home run, you don't even remember running around the bases. I mean, you're just on cloud nine. It's amazing you don't miss one, and they pick you off, or appeal. But certainly he didn't remember running around the bases, but it was a special, special moment. I mean, you watch some of these Mississippi State guys, the raw emotion. Jake Mangum coming home, you saw right there.
Dorenzo, long run toward the line. That'll get into the seats out and right.
Gary Henderson even got kind of excited.
Yeah, he jumped up and down on the rail like he was a little kid, and Gary's very subdued, laid back, got that California approach to life a little bit, keeps things close to the vest, but he was jumping up and down, and who wouldn't be if that was your team, right? You don't get those very often in an elimination game. Two and two on McNamee. That one is just past the glove of Briley Ware into left. And that'll be 2 on and 2 out for the Bulldogs.
It has been hard to pitch to Elijah McNamee in this tournament. That's his 8th hit in 20 at-bats. He just hits a bolt to left field. This guy goes the other way with the best of them. His first home run on opening night was the other way. But if you go inside on him, he's quick enough to turn on it as well.
Foscue will come to the plate with 2 outs. He grounded out his first time up in the second inning. Foscue's average at .252. Out to right, pretty deep. Is it deep enough? Off the fence, and with 2 outs, everybody's running. Tanner Allen scores. Here comes McNamee. He's safe, and the Bulldogs have a 2-1 lead.
That is the place to hit it in this ballpark, up in the zone and in the opposite field for Justin Foscue. All Dorenzo can do is turn around and watch it halfway up that wall in right field. That ball really carried out there. And 2 runs on the board for Mississippi State.
Skip Johnson out to the mound to talk to his freshman left-hander. Foscue just picked up just his RBI, 18th and 19th RBIs of the year. That's his 11th double. And for Mississippi State, 2-out RBIs have been key for them. That's their 13th 2-out RBI here in the regional.
Well, if you look out at the center field flag, it's blowing straight out, but it almost changes your thought process as a pitcher. You do not want them going the other way or to the right side in the air. That ball will just carry. You saw that right there with Foscue.
So Luke Alexander will step in now. Luke popped up to end the second inning. He looks at ball 1. Luke just a .205 hitter. And he's in this lineup for his leather. Luke hitting 7th in the Bulldog lineup.
If you break down a baseball game, it's pitching, defense, and timely hitting, not hitting. And right there with 2 outs, that's what you like to see. And that's where a lot of games are won. 2 outs, those big base hits. Another situation here for Alexander.
Stays inside, and that one misses. 2-1 now on Luke. Again, a walk comes in to haunt a team. As a matter of fact, the second batter of the inning, Tanner Allen, was walked. He scored. Elijah McNamee, who singled, came in to score, but we have seen it throughout this tournament. Walks have been hurting teams since we got here.
In any game you play in this game of baseball, you start giving them free passes, and that can come back to hurt you. But especially this time of year, now you're narrowing it down to the top 16 in the country, top 8 out of 298 Division I schools. Here we are, and those become even more glaring. The walks and the errors. These teams that are playing this time of year will take advantage of that.
Now it's full of 3-2.
This is the guy you got to get. Dustin Skelton's on deck. He's 6 for 10 in this tournament.
Ground ball out to short. Zaragoza fields and throws. But the big hit off the bat of Justin Foscue, a double off the fence in right, plates 2 Bulldogs, and now the Maroons lead it 2-1. When we come back, we'll talk with Skip Johnson of Oklahoma. Skip Johnson joining us in that Oklahoma dugout area. And Coach, early today we had a chance to see Kyler Murray take some BP, and we also saw Steele Walker. How close are those guys, your big hitters in the lineup, to getting in maybe in a bat or two today?
Well, they're really close. I mean, Tyler could pinch hit today. You know, he's a sprinter, and his instincts are just to take off. So we didn't want him to cause blow that thing out for sure. But he's really close. Both of them are.
Coach, Levi Prayers looked really good through 4 today. A mistake up in the zone to a wind-blown ball to right. But what have you seen from him?
I mean, Levi's going to pitch with his heart, and I mean that's what you ask for. You can't ask for with a coach. Is he's going to pitch with his heart, and that's bottom line. I mean, he's got to execute pitch after pitch against this club for sure.
All right. Thanks, Skip. We'll let you get back to business. Thanks for joining us. So it sounds to me like if we get late in the game that we might see at least one, if not both, of their big bats for Oklahoma as Briley Ware steps in.
So they've hit 47 home runs as a team. Those 2 guys that are out of the lineup today have hit 23 of those. So half of their home runs aren't in the lineup today. And you'll never hear Skip Johnson make that excuse, but that's a big deal.
Yeah, 100 RBIs between those 2. Ground ball out to short. First out of the inning. But I mean, you look at them as first of all, Steele Walker is a one-man wrecking crew at the plate. Look at him, 352, leads the team in just about every offensive category. Then you got 10 home runs and 47 runs batted in by Kyler Murray. And you put those 2 guys together, that's 3 and 4. What they've done here in this event is remarkable when they lose those 2 guys.
And it's credit to Briley Ware hitting a 3-0. We just saw him ground out there. Thomas Hughes has picked up the slack. Kyle Mendenhall. I mean, he's really done a nice job offensively. Again, they're bringing out 14 hits per game. 42 hits coming into this game today.
That's their first one this afternoon off the bat of Brady Lindsley. Thomas Hughes, who walked his first time up, will step to the plate. By the way, could be. You don't know how this plays out, but the Major League Draft coming up tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern. It gets rolling, and Kyler Murray expected to be one of those guys somewhere in the 30s, perhaps.
Steele Walker, Jake Mangum from Mississippi State, Connor Pilkington. A lot of guys will be watching that, and that's, of course, the big debate. It's going on during the biggest time of their lives in college, and hard not to focus on that. I went through that as well. I got drafted when we were in Omaha in 1994, and you know, you think about your future, but you're still trying to get a job done in the present. So it's a tough thing for these kids. Good tough thing. Good problem to have.
I was going to say, worst things could be happening to you. You know, there's been discussion about moving the draft back after the College World Series, but the reality of it is most of the guys that get drafted aren't in Omaha. So the major league teams want to get these guys in their system as quickly as possible.
That's a good point.
That one right off the top of the glove of Skelton, and that will get Lindsley down to second base. There is Murray and Walker and where they are projected to go. Steele Walker, he's got the oblique strain and says he just really hasn't been able to swing. I mean, anytime he turns on a baseball, it really is a painful move for him. Kyler's got that hamstring a coach talked about. But both guys are clearly going to get a legit shot to play in the bigs.
Big athletic families. Kyler Murray's uncle Calvin Murray played outfield for Texas. Played against him.
Thomas Hughes, who walked his first time up. 8 for 13 here in the regional. Another ground ball out to short. They're going to go to third and get the out. Lindsley tried to beat the throw, couldn't do it. Gets up a little bit slowly.
We've seen that a couple times in this tournament. When that ball is hit at you or behind you, you take off for third base. But when it's in front of you, you have to freeze. And a lot of times we get anxious trying to get to the lead bag, and you get caught something like this. But as a runner at second base, you get your secondary lead, and that ball is hit to your right. The minute you see it hit, if it's to your right, you freeze. You don't move. In fact, you start taking a few steps back. Let him throw it across. You'll know. If it's hit right at you, you take off. But that's an instinctual play, and the rule of thumb is you'll hold up if the ball's in front of you.
Now Kyle Mendenhall will step in. Mendenhall has a home run this weekend. He's 4 out of 11 at the plate here in Tallahassee. There's a strike, 0-2. Sooners came in here as a 2 seed. After finishing 4th in the Big 12 in the regular season, 14-10. They are 38-24 overall now.
Kyle Mendenhall, the senior, 4 for 11 in this tournament. Coming into this game, had the sacrifice in the second inning. Has a home run.
Runner goes, delayed steal to throw down, and they got it. What a pick and tag out there by Stovall. Thank you, Chris. 2-1 here as we go to the top of the 5th inning. Dustin Skelton to lead things off for the Bulldogs. He tries to lay down the bunt. Ware charging, throwing, throws it away. Skelton will stay at first.
How about a catcher who can bunt? Sees the third baseman back, lays down a beauty, and just sprinting down the line. I've always seen Ware make an unbelievable play at third base, but not able to get him there.
So Skelton reaches. He's at first, and here's Jordan Westberg. Westberg flew out to center his first time up. A freshman designated hitter today. And, of course, yesterday it apparently took off on social media. Westberg and his best friend, the new best friend, the Banana.
That pick right there is to see if he's bunting. Westberg did square around, so now Oklahoma knows that he's bunting.
Throw back to first.
Riley Ware is way up in Westberg's face at third base. It takes that option out.
Bulldogs trying to become the first team in regional history to lose the opening game in back-to-back regionals, but yet advance to the Supers.
Well, that's a nice pitch by Levi Prater. Again, Riley Ware is 5 steps off of the hitter, Westberg, and so his only option is to bunt it to the right side. Levi Prater comes inside with the fastball, preventing him from doing that.
Last year, the Bulldogs lost their opener in Hattiesburg, won the regional. They lost their opener here to Oklahoma, trying to win this one. They lead 2-1 here in the top of the 5th. The attempted bunt, foul. Now it's 1-2 on Westberg. Well, the question is, do they put it on again or let him swing?
Sometimes they'll elect to just go ahead and let him bunt it again. Jordan Westberg did have a big double last night down the left field line.
Swinging away, fouls it straight back here at Dick Hauser Stadium. Got their football camps going on. The practice field's right next to us.
I'll watch some of that. Up here on the third deck, you can look down over the practice fields here at Florida State. A lot of kids running around.
High in the air. Harris backpedals, and he will make the catch. And Skelton stays over at first, 1 down. And the ESPN networks bring you every game on the road to Omaha, starting with regional coverage on ESPN2, ESPNU, Longhorn Network, SEC Network, and ESPN3. Whip-around coverage is also available through ESPN3 and the Bases Loaded channel. All coverage is also available on the ESPN app. Busy day today, and of course later on tonight if things play out. Well, the first time through the lineup, Prater pretty solid. Second time, Mississippi State starting to make some contact with the baseball. They've scored a couple of runs on that double off the fence in right by Justin Foscue.
The more a hitter faces a pitcher, the more it becomes his advantage. That's why I always thought my first time up I'd want to see a lot of pitches, because when you come up the third time around, if in fact that starter's still in the game, you have an advantage. You've seen more of his stuff.
So Mangum back up. He was thrown out on a great play by Briley Ware his last time up. Briley had to go over his bag into foul territory, made a strong enough throw to get the speedy Mangum, who, had he been hitting from the left side, probably beats it out.
Interesting where the corners are defensively, too. Hughes has to hold the runner on, but Briley Ware is one step off the line at third base. See how close Briley Ware is to the third base bag. Don't see Jake really yank a lot of pitches down the line. That would tell me, if I walk to the plate, that I'm probably going to get some off-speed stuff in. You can tell a lot as a hitter before you even step in the box where the defense is playing you. The pitch might be coming based on situation, what the pitcher has. A lot of times I look at their face. If they were grimacing, they were more apt to throw a fastball than if they were more relaxed, they're throwing something off speed. You can sometimes pick up the grip on the baseball as well before he lets it go. There's that off-speed pitch.
.63 pitches now for Prater. Barry and Fink up for the Sooners. Barry with 7 saves. Fink has pitched in 28 games, so 2 of their better arms. Both guys have sub-2 ERAs.
I think both coaches would tell you if they could get their starter into the 5th, they would have been happy before this game started, and here we are. Levi Prater, this is his first regional as a freshman. Really pitched well. Only 3 hits by Mississippi State, 2 runs. Both off a double. In the 4th inning by Justin Foscue.
Boy, now it's 3-1 on Mangum. Mangum at .354 on the year.
Hit 400 as a freshman. I mean, this guy can handle the bat. He's 0 for 2 today, and you call it an average for a reason. Eventually, he's going to get you.
Mangum on the 3-1. Out to left. What a catch by Brewster. Lays out and makes the play for the 2nd out of the inning.
That catch right there by Blake Brewster, I mean, there's got a lot going on in order to make that play. First, you've got to have a good jump. You've got to decide whether or not you can actually make that play. You make that dive and it bounces in front of you and bounces to the wall. That's 2 runs. Great job by Blake Brewster on the jump and the concentration to get the 2nd out.
You're right, with Mangum running, he might have touched them all if he doesn't catch that.
We've seen that happen once in this tournament already. Dive in center field, ball gets by him all the way to the wall, and that's the determination you got to make as an outfielder to try to make that play.
Braden Fink making his way onto the diamond. 4 2/3 out of Levi Prater. Welcome back to the NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One. Dick Hauser Stadium home to the Florida State Seminoles, who were ousted in 2 games. Levi Prater matches his career high, a young career high, 4 2/3 innings. Also did that against UCF earlier this year, actually a few weeks ago on May 12th. And he will turn it over now to Braden Fink, the sophomore left-hander out of Moore, Oklahoma, who comes in with some pretty solid numbers. His 28th appearance. He's a short stint guy, just 20 innings of work, but 28 strikeouts and a 1.74 ERA. He'll work to Rowdy Jordan. Skelton still over at first base. 2 outs in the inning. He got there after he laid down a tremendous bunt. That one will scoot past Mitchell, and that'll get Skelton down to second now as it goes into the dugout. That'll be a wild pitch. Haven't seen a home run here yet today, but certainly there have been plenty of home runs throughout the NCAA tournament. 211. It is the most since they went back to, they changed the bat back in 2011. Fayetteville, Arkansas has seen the most home runs, 24. Clemson had 22. Of course, 9 of those came off the bat of the Commodores last night when they wrapped up that regional. That was an NCAA tournament single game record. The NCAA Division I record for any game, a regular season game, is 14.
Rowdy Jordan with 2 home runs in this tournament already.
Well, he got one from the left side yesterday that even he stared at for a while.
Pounded. Can't say enough about how great a job Levi Prater did for Oklahoma. I mean, imagine if you're Skip Johnson handing the ball to a freshman with your season on the line. Levi Prater comes in there and just does a magnificent job. Gets you into the 5th.
That one is shot out to right. Skelton coming around third. They wave him. The throw all the way home, and an RBI single for Rowdy Jordan. It's 3-1, and boy, that wild pitch came back to bite Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma gave Mississippi State a gift, allowing Skelton to get to second base on the second pitch from Braden Fink in this ball game, and Rowdy Jordan inside out of the pitch. We've been talking about Mississippi State going the other way all tournament, and there's another base hit to right. The other way for Rowdy Jordan.
Jordan now 2 for 2 against Fink here in the regional. A 3-1 game, and Tanner Allen steps in. He smashes it, but right to the first baseman, Hughes, who gloves it. I don't think he even needs to step on the bag, but he does anyway, and that'll end the inning. But another run on the board for Mississippi State. Their lead is 3-1. We head to the bottom of the 5th. Ribeyes this week in Athens.
What a special year for Scott Strickland's 5th year over at Georgia. Keegan McGovern, the senior.
Saw the numbers for J.P. France, 47 pitches and 2 outings before in this regional before this start. Now up to 48 after this pitch. That one stays up high. J.P. France, just his second start. Actually his first start of the year was against Jackson State on February 21st. That happened to be Gary Henderson's first game as the interim head coach. He went 3 innings in that game. Mississippi State got the win, 12-1.
going back to Georgia, how about Aaron Shunk? Ran into the wall, broke his nose. He's playing today with a mask on. Broken nose, you got all that swelling, probably can barely see. Sophomore third baseman is also their closer.
Yeah, in foul territory, trying to catch a pop-up when he was playing third, ran into a railing, and they took him to the hospital, and the sophomore is back on the field today. That's crazy. Mendenhall, 2-2 on him. The Sooner second baseman fouls that one back, staying alive. Just keep waiting for Oklahoma to get to J.P. France, but they really haven't. Just one hit through 4 innings.
It's a team averaging 14 hits a game through the 3 games here in this regional. So, yeah, we've been watching it all weekend. You expect a barrage from this Oklahoma offense at some point.
Oklahoma got off to a great start at the Big 12 in conference play. They started 8-0. Slowed down a little bit and finished 4th in that league. Maybe the biggest story out of the Big 12 was TCU not making it to the postseason after 4 straight trips to the College World Series. That one's lifted in the air to right center. Mangum says he has it. He's all the way over in right field, but making the play. So the first out of the inning. You know, there was some news earlier, or actually late last night, that came out that Jim Schlossnagle publicly said that he has taken his name out of consideration as a head coach for Mississippi State. That one is lifted out to right, and this time McNamee gets to make the play. 2 down. There are a lot of folks around college baseball that just felt that that was a match that was going to happen. Gary Henderson is the guy that's kind of been just kind of flailing out there as he's taken over this program after Andy Cannizzaro abruptly resigned after the first weekend. And he's kept this team together, coached him up, got him here to the regional, and playing for a chance to go to a super. And now you just wonder the direction of athletic director John Cohen and how close they really were to making a deal.
Gary Henderson has a lot of experience in the SEC, 18 years. 8 years as the head coach at Kentucky, and I'm not feeling sorry for Gary Henderson. He'll land on his feet. He's a brilliant baseball mind. But, yeah, it is interesting what will happen there at Mississippi State, but it speaks to what he, like you just said, what he's done since that. I mean, can you imagine coaching under that shadow and, under that umbrella, thinking that, most likely you won't get that job no matter how well you do? And here they are about, in position to maybe win a regional and get a chance at another super regional for Mississippi State.
Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball broke that news late last night. And, boy, the coaching circles and everything that goes involved with guys wanting jobs and how it affects this and that and the other thing. It stirred it up last night, buddy. There were even reports that just this weekend that Coach Schlossnagle was in Starkville visiting the campus. So interesting to see what plays out because, John Cohen had said that he wanted to get a coach in before the draft, and that didn't happen. So how much longer does it push the decision back?
Well, good move that they're still playing.
And J.P. France is still playing. He ties a season high with 5 innings pitched. Elijah McNamee, he's been a hero this weekend. He's grabbing a bat when we come back. Off speed, high in the air, deep to left field. A walk-off for the Bulldogs. They stay alive in Tallahassee. This, my friends, was a no-doubter. He knew exactly where it was going the moment it left the bat.
Elijah McNamee, 3-run home run. Wow.
Great win for Mississippi State. A tough loss for that guy. 11, Mike Martin, the all-time winningest coach in college baseball. As McNamee will be the first one, or McNamee will hit this inning, second behind Stovall. But I got a lot of discussion when that game was over about the decision to stay with Drew Parrish after throwing over 100 pitches through 8 innings, 2.5-hour delay. They bring him back out. Hadn't walked anybody all day. He walks 2 that inning. And to his credit, Mike Martin in the postgame defended his decision, gave the reasons why, and felt like it gave his club the best opportunity to win that game in an elimination game. And a lot of questions being asked. Will Mike Martin return for yet another season? Just wrapped up number 39. He says he was going to wait. Stan Wilcox, the athletic director here at Florida State, was out of town for a few days. Going to meet with him in the middle of this week and discuss the future. It felt to me, it's just my feeling, having been around him, that I would be shocked if he did decide to retire. But beside all that, I just you feel for the team, you feel for the staff, the fans here, the way that went down, and certainly excitement for the Bulldogs. But that's why we play sports, though. I mean, there's a winner and a loser, and things happen. And it was just a magical moment for the Bulldogs, but just a painful one for Florida State fans and players and coaches.
Well, Mike Martin would word it the same way you just did. I mean, of course he wants to win a championship. We talked to him about that. He hasn't won one since he's been here, but the journey far outweighs the results. And for him, I think he's still enjoying the journey. I think he's still enthusiastic about the game, and among other things, he wants to get over 2,000 wins, I'm sure. So I think he'll be back.
Here is Elijah McNamee. Ground ball out to third. Ware fields and throws. 2 down. Let's get an update, Chris.
Third baseman, number 17, Justin Bosque.
Boy, I had Tennessee Tech earlier this year. Those boys can flat out mash.
Yeah,
they are grown men at the plate at Texas Tech.
The Braga family's been around that program a long time. Matt Braga, the man, or the coach. I mean, 120 some odd home runs on the year. It's just off the charts in this era. I watched him walk in this regional last year in Tallahassee on opening night against Florida State. Not many people knew about Tennessee Tech, and they beat Florida State on opening night here last year. Lost to Auburn, but it was a close game, 5-3, so they can battle you.
Cade Cavalli, third pitcher for the Sooners, on the bump. We've seen him as a first baseman. They love him, the freshman, a big boy with a lot of potential. They feel like this might be his destination. He's right there on the bump.
Talented kid, can hit the ball a long way. Give you 94, 95 on the mound. Nice little slider, as you see right there. Big kid.
Foscue fouls that back. Hey, for more coverage of the Division I baseball regionals and interactive brackets, be sure to go to NCAA.com. One and two on Foscue with 2 outs.
Justin Foscue, the big double in the 4th, drove in 2 for Mississippi State with 2 outs.
To the right side, base hit. Foscue going the other way again for his second hit of the afternoon. Speaking of hits, something tells me there might be a few. Our Monday Night Baseball West Coast matchup as the D-backs in San Francisco as they start a 3-game series with former Seminole Buster Posey and the Giants, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific, and you can always watch it on the ESPN app from wherever you may be. Luke Alexander with a runner at first and 2 down. Luke today has popped up and grounded out. Cade Cavalli on the mound. 6'4", 225 out of Bixby, Oklahoma. been at first base. First 3 games of this regional for Oklahoma. Just hasn't been comfortable at the plate, though. He's had a real tough time picking up anything that's spinning. Didn't see a whole lot of fastballs.
No. He can hit a fastball a long way. Stay off his strength.
That ball is hit hard out to left, and Brewster does it again. Come on. Blake Brewster putting on a show out and left with a couple of diving catches.
How about Blake Brewster takes one away from Jake Mangum in the 5th, and the identical play from Luke Alexander lays out Superman to get the 3rd out for Oklahoma.
Time to take a look at the Capital One rewarding performance, and for that, J.P. France has done a marvelous job making just his 2nd start of the year. He has limited the Sooners to just 1 hit and 1 run today, and he's got some help defensively as well.
That's how you win baseball games, pitching and defense. Mainly pitching. J.P. France has been excellent today, hitting his spots, mixing his off-speed well. Getting ahead of hitters.
Out of Luling, Louisiana. Dominic Dorenzo to lead things off. The right fielder for the Sooners, hitting 9th in the lineup. Then it's Cade Harris and Brandon Zaragoza. Bottom of the 6th inning in a 3-1 game. The first game these two teams played, which started this regional, was 20-10. They played again last night, and it was 13-5. Now, there's still time left, but certainly this is a different game than we saw the first 2 outings, where offense dominated. Matter of fact, Sooners had a 9-run inning that lasted over 45 minutes in the first meeting, and then last night, Mississippi State returned the favor. They had an 8-run inning. Boy, if you're Sooners, you just need some base runners. Maybe you get the chance to see Kyler Murray pinch hits. Or Steele Walker grab a bat.
J.P. France is working off pure adrenaline right now. His longest outing of the year is 5 innings at Alabama on May the 6th. Not used to the starting role.
There's a ground ball to 3rd. Boy, tough hop for Foskey, but he plays it really well.
Ball right here will eat up most third basemen. They were always telling you to go forward, not backwards. Nice job by Foskey taking the hop and making a play, but you start backing up, you're asking for trouble, and Justin Foskey just read the hop and gathered that topspin and make an accurate throw. That is not an easy play.
Cade Harris. He looks at ball 1. Winner of this one will advance to the Super Regional. Vanderbilt already through on their side. So the Commodores will play the Sooners or the Bulldogs. The destination to be determined. Clemson was the #1 seed in that Clemson Regional. Florida State, the #1 seed here in Tallahassee. Both did not make it through, so somebody who wasn't expecting to host a Super gets to host one.
You know, Dave, and as this day goes on, too, you know, they watered the infield when this game started. Now it's hot outside. That dirt starts to get really hard. Back to that play by Foskey, you know, if that catches any kind of seam, the bounce is going to be exaggerated, and on the infield it just makes it a little more difficult when that dirt is as hard as it is right now.
There's a strike, 2-2. Got him. Fourth strikeout for J.P. France, 2 outs.
Cade Harris gets caught looking right here, thinks it's a fastball up and in. It's a changeup that drops down in on the front door part of the plate. It just freezes Cade Harris for the second out. J.P. France has been on point today. We haven't seen a whole lot of that curveball from J.P. France, and he's throwing that for a strike. So now he's got the changeup, the curveball, still pumping it in the low 90s.
Zaragoza hitting in the 2-hole with 2 outs here. He lined into a double play his last time up in the 3rd. 42 strikes and 70 pitches for J.P. France. That one's lifted. Will it stay in play? It's going to head toward the seats. One and 2 on Zaragoza. Boy, this could not have worked out any better for Gary Henderson of Mississippi State to get this type of outing out of J.P. France. That one's to the right, popped up. McNamee says he has it. A 1-hitter through 6 for J.P. France. A 3-1 Mississippi State lead. We head to the 7th here in Tallahassee. The College World Series just around the corner as the road to Omaha is clearly underway, and Vanderbilt one step closer after they won the Clemson Regional, waiting the winner of this Tallahassee Regional. As you look at the conference tote board, the SEC has 3 teams already through to the Supers, 5 more teams with a chance today. It's been a good run for the SEC to this point, but the Pac-12, Big 12 also having some good success at 10-4 and 11-5. ACC, though, a little shocking with their totals. Cade Cavalli still on the mound for Oklahoma as he pitches to Dustin Skelton. 2nd inning for Cavalli. That ball's hit hard and deep center field. Harris on the run will make the catch at the track. 1 down. When you start looking at what some of these super regionals look like now, some have already set and some will be determined later today. Of course, Florida and FAU. FAU has to beat Florida twice today. They'll get Auburn. Can you imagine that? Brady Singer and a Casey Mize.
Yeah. Casey Mize is supposed to be the first pick tonight. The draft by the Detroit Tigers.
There'll be some offense if Georgia can get through. If Georgia can get through, they would host Texas Tech. How about the offense between those 2 teams? Texas Tech reminiscent a little bit of Tennessee Tech the way they hit it. And of course Georgia exploding offensively this weekend, but they got their hands full with Duke right now. UNC Wilmington has to beat South Carolina twice today. If South Carolina can win 1, they will take on Arkansas in an all-SEC Super. And the Hogs would host that as a top 8 national seed. And home runs have been flying out of Baum Stadium. Boy, they are wearing out Briley Ware today, but he keeps making plays.
Auburn had to go to Florida in week 7 in the SEC, lost 2-3, so that would be a rematch there.
So with 2 down, Jake Mangan will step up to the plate. 0 for 3 today. Mangum has a 9-game hit streak on the line. Average has gone from 357 to 353 today, and it'll drop even more if Mendenhall makes the play, and he does. Boy, Cavalli looking good on the mound. 1-2-3 inning, keeping the Sooners in it. Sooners hope they can get the troops rallied. We head to the bottom of the 7th. Just one hit against J.P. France as Bradley Ware will lead things off. First pitch Ware sees is line to left. That'll bounce off the wall, and Ware will hold up at first base. So the Sooners have something going here in the 7th.
DH number 40, Brady Lindsley.
Well, they haven't really been able to figure out J.P. France, so why not ambush the first pitch? Bradley Ware gets a fastball out over the plate and drills it to left field, so much so he can't even get over to second base. That ball was scorched.
Just the second hit of the afternoon for the Sooners, and Brady Lindsley will step up. Skip Johnson in his first season as the Sooners head coach. Trying to push all the right buttons here, but it's getting late. The leadoff man reached and scored for Oklahoma back in the 2nd inning. That pitch looked good. A little bit up.
I think that fooled the umpire right there. Get your first fastball bit by Bradley Ware, so it drops the first pitch change out over the plate.
Kelly
doesn't get the call.
Behind the plate today. .91-mile-an-hour fastball in there for a strike. It's 1-1.
That's something you pay attention to. If you're Lindsley walking to the plate, Bradley Ware just turned that fastball around, so when you walk to the plate, your first pitch, he's not just going to pump another fastball in there, so you can kind of eliminate that and look for something else. If he does drop that changeup over, you're ready for it.
Another 91-mile-an-hour fastball. The Sooners under Skip Johnson, who was the pitching coach last year, started 8-0 in Big 12, but finished 4th in the standings. Got an unbelievable year out of Steele Walker. 352 average, 13 homers, 53 runs batted in, and an on-base percentage of .441. But Steele has not been available this entire weekend with a strained oblique. And it just changes your entire lineup when you miss one guy like that. But then you turn around and you miss a guy like Kyler Murray, who's at 296. He had started 50 games and had 10 home runs and 47 RBIs. I mean, it's one thing to lose one of those, but to lose both of them heading in to this regional is incredible that they're playing for a regional championship today.
Yeah, any coach will tell you on their team, they lose their 3 and 4 hole hitters, you just can't compete. You just can't. And Oklahoma has really done something remarkable. Like you said, not only get to this game, but the offense they put up over the course of the weekend.
Nobody out. Runner at first is Bradley Ware. Swing and a miss. Changeup got him. First out. Let's get an update. Go to the studio. Chris Cotter.
First baseman, number 11, Thomas Hughes.
Thank you, Chris. Sooners down 2. And here's Thomas Hughes. Thomas Hughes has moved up on the lineup, was hitting at the end, 8 or 9 for most of this weekend. They now have him hitting in the 5 hole. And you talk about guys stepping up for Oklahoma. There is no doubt that Thomas Hughes has been an unlikely hero just because he didn't play much. You didn't know what you were going to get, but he has been dynamic, trying to help offset some of these numbers that the Sooners have lost this weekend.
Justin Mitchell, same way. Briley Ware, Blake Brewster all hit 400 in this tournament.
Of course, Murray and Walker, according to Coach Johnson, both could be available to pitch hit, but leaning more toward Murray getting the first opportunity. He's got a bad hamstring, so Coach really concerned about him trying to run everything out. He says he's like a racehorse in terms of, like, as soon as the ball's hit, he's going to go full throttle. I'm afraid he might tweak that hammy again. There is Steele Walker trying to get loose, waiting for his opportunity, and maybe this is one of those scenarios where he may grab a bat. One out.
By name recognition, clearly you'd want one of those, or if not both, to get in and at least pinch hit in this game. But this game's too tough. I mean, you haven't seen pitching in a while, and just to get thrown in there and try to expect them to do something big would be tough to imagine.
Steele hasn't played in 7 games. It's been almost 6 games for Kyler. Popped him up. Stovall will make the catch. 2 down. Kyler Murray walking around with that bat. Boy, he would love a chance. And let me tell you something. The BP session he put on yesterday was incredible. If he hit 25 balls, I would say 18 to 20 of them got out of the park, and most of them to straightaway center.
That's not his best asset.
No.
I mean, dude can fly. Yeah. I mean, he's fastest on the football team. He can really run. And you start adding power, average, defense. He's trying to learn the outfield, played infield in high school, and he'll get that down pretty quick. Complete player, Kyler Murray.
Mendenhall stepping in with 2 outs. Of course, with Kyler, draft prospects coming up. And, of course, he is the heir apparent to take over the Sooner offense on the gridiron after the departure of Baker Mayfield. So big expectations for Kyler on 2 levels. Ground ball out to second. Stovall fields and throws. So the leadoff hit goes for Knott. And J.P. France, a 2-hitter through 7. A 3-1 game here in Tallahassee. It's getting late.
NCAA Baseball Regionals is presented by the Capital One Saver Card. Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and 2% on groceries. And in part by Heineken. Open your world. Enjoy responsibly. And Coppertone. Coppertone Sport is proven to protect.
Good look at the circus tent off in the right field fence. Been there forever. Summer school in session here on the campus of Florida State. As we move to the top of the 8th inning. Rowdy Jordan, the 2-hole hitter, leading things off. He'll be followed this inning by Tanner Allen and Hunter Stovall. Bulldogs are 6 outs away from becoming the first team to reach the Super Regionals in back-to-back seasons after losing its regional opener in both years. To this point, they've won 7 consecutive regional elimination games. Think about that for a minute.
Impressive.
Foul back 2-2 on Jordan.
You walk into the postseason or into these regionals and you know they're going to be a dogfight. You hope they're easy, but they never are. And Mississippi State's got a full grip on that by now. Like you said, not too far removed from losing game 1 last year in Hattiesburg, coming all the way through. So faced a tough regional in Baton Rouge.
Boy, a 94-mile-an-hour fastball just catches Rowdy Jordan. He'll get down to first base. Hey, the Women's College World Series Finals begins tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN as the Washington Huskies take on the Florida State Seminoles. That's at 7 o'clock Eastern tonight. You can always watch it on the ESPN app from anywhere you may be. And a 3-game set getting underway for all the marbles at the Women's College World Series. Three to 1. Bulldogs clinging to this 2-run lead. They picked up 2 runs in the 4th and another one in the 5th. Tanner Allen looks at strike 1. Rowdy Jordan just 2 out of 2 in the stolen base department. As Allen is looking for his first hit today. Fouls that one back. It's 0-2. Boy, still having a hard time thinking that Ole Miss, with all that pitching, is losing 10-0 right now at home.
I think it speaks to what you said earlier. Tennessee Tech can just swing it. Get a little momentum going, and they've capitalized 10-0 right now.
And Ole Miss had to hold them off yesterday. They won 9-8 against Tennessee Tech. Throw back to first. You start thinking about Ole Miss. They've had opportunities to host regionals. Matter of fact, they had a stretch where they lost 3 consecutive supers. The place is electric. And Texas is already through. They're awaiting the winner. If Ole Miss wins that against Texas Tech, they would host. Can you imagine Texas? Tennessee Tech. But if they would host Ole Miss and Texas, that super, wow.
I know. All supers are going to be fun to watch, but that one would be special. Texas going into Oxford.
Big if, though.
Big if. Got to get by Tennessee Tech first.
2-2 on Tanner Allen. Just does get a piece of it.
You know, Kay Cavalli's a beast out there. 6'4", 220 freshman. Coming straight over the top, creating this big tilt on that fastball, big angle at 92, 93 miles an hour. So when you saw Levi Prater creating an angle side to side almost, for Kay Cavalli, it's over the top to bottom. And when you create angles or have that ball moving around, especially your fastball, it is just hard to square up as a hitter.
Ground ball to the right side, and Allen with the base hit. Jordan rounds third, second, and will wind up at third with nobody out, runners at the corners.
Tanner Allen just gets a piece of this ball. Look at this low and in the zone. That's a nice pitch. He just dribbles it through the hole on the right side, allowing Rowdy Jordan to get all the way over to third base. And with no outs, Mississippi State has runners on the corners. The big 4-hole, Hunter Stovall up.
So nobody out. Stovall will be followed by Elijah McNamee.
Kay Cavalli was hoping for that ball on the ground to get the double play, but finds the hole on the right side. Nice piece of hitting by Tanner Allen.
Swing and a miss for Stovall. Hunter 0 for 3 today. Connor Berry ready to go if needed. Stovall's had a tough regional. Just 3 for 19 here in Tallahassee. Still hitting .320. There's Elijah McNamee. 3 home runs here in Tallahassee. 1 for 3 today. Waiting for his opportunity in a 3-1 game. Down in the dirt, throw back to first. Got him. What a throw from Justin Mitchell. So Tanner Allen heading back to the dugout.
Not only the pick, just to keep it in front of you, but the throw, an accurate throw to first base, and nice tag by Hughes, who hasn't been over there. The spin tag. If he goes to his right, tries to tag him, he's going to be safe. Thomas Hughes makes the left turn, and that's what makes the play. But nice job by Mitchell, not only to pick that ball, but a strong throw to first base.
Skip Johnson going to make a change with a 2-1 count on Hunter Stovall. And we'll step aside as Berry making his way onto the diamond. Back in a moment. Thanks, Chris. 3-1 here. And Skip Johnson with a 2-1 count going to his bullpen as he brings out Connor Berry, the right-hander, making his 22nd appearance. And boy, he's got some nice numbers. A 1.4 ERA for Connor. 7 saves, second best on this team to Austin Hanson, who has 9. 23 strikeouts for Connor. 19 innings of work. Opponents hit just 194 against him. Out of Sugar Land, Texas. Mississippi State has scored 7 straight runners from third base in this tournament with less than 2 outs. That's a scenario here. They had him at the corners with nobody out until Tanner Allen was just picked off.
Now that changes the defense for Oklahoma. Now they get to play in. Hughes now doesn't have to hold the runner. He's up on the grass as well.
That one scoots away from Mitchell. Here comes the run. Jordan scores. 4-1.
Well, Mitchell just had a nice pick and a pick off at first base right there. Just a little lazy, getting his knees on the ground and blocking that pitch. Tries to glove it. Gets by him, and Mississippi State gets their 4th run across. Ball's just in the dirt, and again, if you're Mitchell, you put both knees on the ground, put that glove on the ground, and use your chest protector to do anything you can to keep that ball in front of you.
So Stovall over at first. That walk, by the way, will be charged to Cade Cavalli as McNamee steps in. And he's behind 0-1. Boy, another good pitch, 0-2. Throw down to second. The tag is made. That time Mitchell stays with it and able to gun down Hunter Stovall at second.
A lot of action behind the plate for Mitchell. This ball hits the dirt again. He's got to find it. Picks it up with his bare hand and an accurate enough throw. You get the runner Stovall at second base. As base runners, they were always telling us, if that ball hits the dirt, you take off. Too hard for that catcher to find the ball, pick it up with his bare hand, and make an accurate throw. But Mitchell, a nice job right there to nail Hunter Stovall for the second out.
Swing and a miss, inning is over. But a pass ball allows Rowdy Jordan to score, and the Bulldogs stretch their lead to 3. We head to the bottom of the 8th inning here in Tallahassee. Well, Gary Henderson has decided to go to his bullpen to try to close this one out, and he goes with Riley Self, who has thrown 51 pitches so far in this tournament. Riley making his 16th appearance, a sub-3 ERA, 21 1/3 innings of work. But the story really has been J.P. France making his second career start, and J.P. was fantastic. Just 2 hits allowed in 7 innings of work, both career highs in terms of pitches at 84 and innings.
Longest outing of the year for J.P. France, 5 innings, went 7 today. And again, for the decision for Gary Henderson whether or not he could actually get through the next inning. You don't want to run him out there and get in trouble and have to make the move in between. You'd rather Riley Self come in with a clean inning. So they decided to pull J.P. France after 7. But what an awesome job he did today.
Justin Mitchell fouls this back. 0-2 on Riley Self. Self 6'4", 240, the sophomore out of Coldwater, Mississippi. Just misses that one. 1-2. Self has thrown 3 2/3 here in this regional. That one misses on the inside, 2-2. Ground ball to the right side. Stovall fields and throws one down. Well, J.P. France, what can you say about his effort today?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, just fastballs where he wanted to put them today. That 12-6 curveball low and out of the zone. Ball on the end of the bat. Gets the double play behind him. And a changeup, front door changeup. Had the threat of the fastball all day long. Allowed his off-speed to work for him. 7 innings for J.P. France, only 2 hits. And again, that's against a team averaging 14 hits a game in this region.
Blake Brewster, he'll look at a strike, 0-1. Brewster's had a couple of highlight reel catches out in left field today, but 0 for 2 at the plate. Another ground ball. Stovall throws.
Dude's automatic. He's automatic at second base.
Brewster thought he had a base hit.
Gets Justin Mitchell, the hitter before, to his left, and here he has to range to his right with the backhand, and Allen doesn't even have to move at first base. Look at this throw from that angle, just right on the money, and that is not easy to do. You run to your right as a second baseman, you've got to lead off the right shoulder of the first baseman and let it sink in there. And perfect by Stovall, who's been perfect this whole tournament.
You know, he hasn't taken his struggles at the plate this weekend out to the field, obviously, the way he's played defensively.
And that's hard to do. I mean, one affects the other, both positive and negative. You kick a ball in the second inning, you go to the plate, it's harder to concentrate.
There's a base hit with 2 outs for Dorenzo. Time for an update. Chris, what's happening? Getting interesting in Athens. Of course, Texas Tech awaiting the winner of that Athens regional. Duke has to beat Georgia twice. Strange not to see the Louisville Cardinals in a super. Just had a kind of an up and down year. So Cade Harris will step in. Cade, the leadoff man for the Oklahoma Sooners. Struck out his last time. He is 0 for 2 today with a walk. Boy, Oklahoma versus Mississippi State this weekend in game 1. They had 22 hits, which was a season high. In game 2 against the Bulldogs, they had 12 hits. Today, just 3. For more coverage of the Division I baseball regionals and interactive brackets, go to NCAA.com.
You know, Denver McQuarrie started for Mississippi State last night against Oklahoma. I mean, he pitched in the game against Sanford, then started the game. But since Cole Gordon took over in the 4th, Mississippi State has just been dominating on the mound.
Some of these guys we're seeing here in this regional were guys that weren't with the team last year because of injuries. 8 pitchers. Riley Self comes in out of the bullpen, leaves a Sooner stranded, gets the called strike 3, and we're heading to the 9th.
This is just filthy from Riley Self. Look at that backdoor pitch on the outside corner. Got him. Mississippi State up by 3.
Welcome back to the NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One. The road to Omaha. The Tallahassee regional winner will move to the Supers. We'll find that out here shortly as we head to the 9th inning. A hot day here in Tallahassee and a new pitcher on the mound for the Sooners, Austin Hansen. The team's closer with 9 saves, making his 34th appearance, the best on this team. Opponents hit just 197 against the junior. He'll start things off with Foscue, who's had a couple of hits today, including a double that plated 2 back in the 4th. Six, 7, 8 due up for the Bulldogs. Into the camera well and off the wall, so 1-2 on Foscue. Bulldogs 3 outs away from winning this regional, advancing to take on Vanderbilt.
And they were 1 strike away from going home.
And what they would accomplish if they can hold on is really kind of amazing. It is such a rarity, and they're about to do it back-to-back years, and that is lose the opener and go on to win the regional. There's a ground ball out to short. Zaragoza fields and throws. But just to give you an idea, the percentages tell you the story here. If you start a tournament 2-0, a regional, since 1999, you get through 81% of the time. If you lose the first game, 7% of the time. Now, the way it's set up here in this regional, Sanford was the team that won their first game, lost their second game, and that team has a 12% chance of winning the regional. But Mississippi State's in that bracket where a 7% chance, and they're about to do it back-to-back years if they can hold on here. And nobody's ever done that, gone back-to-back years after losing their opening game in a regional.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what's the percentage of that, Dave?
Slim and none. The last 4 teams that lost their opening game but won a regional. South Carolina did it in 2016. Florida State and Mississippi State did it last year. Seminoles no such luck in 2018 though. One and 2 on Luke Alexander. He's 0 for 3 today. 6 hits on the board for the Bulldogs, but 4 runs. Oklahoma defensively has helped them out for a couple of those runs. Check swing. He holds off on it. It's now full 3 and 2. Three-two pitch. Line drive out to right. Time to get an update. Let's head back to Chris. Well, here's a look at Arkansas. They got through, and they are awaiting the winner of the South Carolina-UNC Wilmington afternoon of baseball. If South Carolina holds on, they move on. If they lose Wilmington, they'll have to play a second game. That ball's lifted high in the air to right. Long run out there for Dorenzo. That's a fair ball. Skelton around first. They will hold up Luke Alexander at third. Well, they had Skelton shaded a little bit towards center, so that made it a long, long run for Dorenzo.
Yet another opposite field hit. Thought it was a home run from Skelton. Nice compact swing, just lifts it out to right field. Thinks it's gone, little trot, and then has to catch up off the foul pole here in Tallahassee and cruises on into second. Nice job holding up Luke Alexander at third. With 2 outs, you would have gone ahead and sent him. But with 1 out, you want to be a little cautious, especially when you're ahead by 3. Infield will be in for Oklahoma.
Designated hitter and the 9-hole hitter, Jordan Westberg, stepping in. Swing and a miss. Westberg looking for his first hit, came in at .250 hitter. His average has dropped 8 points today. Fouls that off. It's 0-2.
2 really good sliders from Austin Hansen, keeping it low in the zone. Best Westberg could do with that ball is a ground ball to the drawn-in infield.
Well, the banana, that's been the good luck charm for the last almost 2 games now for the Bulldogs. Now they're handling it with care. At some points yesterday, they were yelling at it. But now it's their lucky charm. Take care of the thing. That one gets through the left side. Alexander scores. They'll wave Skelton. He will score, and it's now 6-1 Mississippi State. The magic banana.
That's what Skip Johnson and Austin Hansen wanted, a ground ball to the infield, but it finds a hole on the left side, and Jordan Westberg, 2 RBIs to extend the lead for Mississippi State. And after Austin Hansen had thrown 2 really good sliders low in the zone, that one he hangs out over the middle. Allows Jordan Westberg to get enough on it to get it to the outfield. Jordan
Anderson will run for Westberg. Everybody wants a piece of that banana now, don't they? Not so much last night, but now they're all on board. The banana has become famous.
The Rally Banana.
Jordan Westberg tweeting out about the Rally Banana. Mangum, fly ball to right. It is out of here. Mangum with a second home run of the tournament, a 2-run shot. It's now 8-1.
Boy, Austin Hansen doesn't get beat up like this. Lost his train of thought after giving up the big hit to Jordan Westberg. Lays one in there for Jake Mangum, who pounds that ball out to right field and into the wind tunnel. And that ball was way back.
Something tells me Mississippi State will be loading up on potassium here the next few days before the Supers.
Question becomes, do you keep the same banana?
Well, Jordan
you can't
Westberg
have a
said
perishable item as a Lucky Charm, right? I mean, that thing get ugly here in a few days.
It might be ugly right now.
I don't know if they care, especially Westberg.
Jordan smashes one. That's off the fence. He rounds first on his way to second.
Austin Hansen, opponents are hitting 197 off of him, but right now it shows the importance of concentration. The game starting to get out of hand and wind out of control, and Austin Hansen just delivers another cookie to Rowdy Jordan, who pounds it off the right field wall.
Skip Johnson has seen enough. 5 hits and 6 batters versus Hansen. So we'll update the change when we come back. The Bulldogs have opened this one up. Welcome back to the NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One. Even Jake Mangum, who is quite the serious ball player, having some fun with the banana now. That thing is getting a little raunchy, isn't it? That is turned black.
I wonder who the phone call was from.
Some of his friends in Starkville are trying to make some reservations, perhaps for a Super next week. Kyle Tyler, making his 21st appearance, joins the game with 1 out here in the top of the 9th inning. Sixth pitcher used today by Oklahoma. Rowdy Jordan stands at second base. Rowdy with another 2-hit day. He's been on base 4 times in 5 plate appearances. Tanner Allen today is 1 for 3 with a single and a walk. Eleven hits now for the Bulldogs.
Five in this inning.
Look, they gave up 20 runs and 22 hits in their opening game, but since then they have been on lockdown.
We talked a little bit about that emotion. Like, how do you feel the next day when you get beat up like that? And Mississippi State, as they've done all year long, has responded in a big way.
Well, you would think if they could have, Oklahoma kept Mississippi State at bay here. You go to the bottom of the ninth, 4-1, manageable. Mentally, you're thinking a couple guys on, one swing away. We got two bats in the dugout that could get out of this ballpark in a hurry, and Murray and Walker. But now, man, that just has to suck the life out of you with 4 here in the ninth.
Yeah, and again, Austin Hansen gives up the key base hit, and then just, it starts spinning out of control in your own mind, and you forget even where you're at. And I think that's the kind of the personality of the team right now. They're a little shocked. Why wouldn't you be? They were in the driver's seat at 2-0. They just weren't able to figure out J.P. France, and now Riley Self from Mississippi State in this game today.
If Mississippi State moves on, they'll take on Vanderbilt in the Super. Vanderbilt went into Starkville this year and swept the Bulldogs.
Yeah, that was week 1 of the SEC, and we've already talked about what a different team this is from Mississippi State after April the 1st. Be a different series against Vanderbilt this time around.
Swing and a miss. Second out of the inning. Sports Center at 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN after PTI with Kevin Negandhi and Matt Berry. They'll recap Game 2 of the NBA Finals, plus highlights from Game 1 of the Yankees-Tigers doubleheader, and why the time is now for Alex Ovechkin. Sports Center, 6 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. Check swing by Stovall, and fouls that one back. Stovall 0 for 3 today. Now it's 0-2 on Hunter. Boy, Hunter's been a real leader for this team, and especially you need those guys this year, the way the season played out for the Bulldogs. Losing your coach after the first weekend of the season where you were just swept. Could have been easy for this group to go the other way, but they rallied. Really, after April 1st, they were 14-15 heading into April. They were on the verge of heading to a Super. Gary Henderson talking to his offensive coach right there, Jake Gautreau to his right. That one stays up and in. It's 2-2. Fouled out of play. This would be Mississippi State's 8th straight regional elimination game win. When they have faced elimination in back-to-back regionals, they will have now won 8 consecutive of those games where they could go home at any moment.
And a lot of people thought going into week 10 against Florida that they may not make the postseason. Right. So they faced that type of deal a lot this year, and they sweep Florida. So there's something about those scenarios you never want to put yourself in that they respond to.
Yes, he went. Inning is over. But a big inning nonetheless for the Bulldogs. They put up 4 on the board. They need 3 more outs, and they'll head to the Supers. Offense on display here in Tallahassee for the Bulldogs. They continue to mash. Part of the reason they are looking good. Runs out of that Athens Regional. Fayetteville has the most home runs. Baum Stadium has given up 24 this weekend. As we head to the bottom of the 9th, Zaragoza to lead things off. 2, 3, and 4 coming up for Oklahoma against Riley Self, trying to close this out for J.P. France, who was magnificent through 7 innings. Just 3 hits so far for Oklahoma. Lifted in the air, and that's a base hit to start things off for the Sooners.
Third baseman, number 12, Briley Ware.
Briley Ware now, who is 1 for 3. Third baseman has made some super plays over at third base this afternoon. No errors in this game. Mississippi State seeking their 15th NCAA regional title and their 3rd straight. Now it's foul back, 1-2 on Ware. Bulldogs would be heading to their 8th super regional appearance. This format began in 1999. Ware just does get a piece of that one. The NCAA will decide, perhaps later on today, who would host a regional between the Commodores and the Bulldogs. If they do decide to play in Nashville, you better good luck getting a hotel room. CMA Music Festival going on. It's J.P. France. He'll have a place to stay. I'm sure they'll find a spot for him. Called strike 3, first out. Well, here's a look at how things have shaped up so far. A few of those have already been set. Washington and Cal State Fullerton out west. North Carolina and Stetson will square off. Oregon State and Minnesota will go at it. Oregon State looks so good in Corvallis this weekend. They just hammered LSU twice. All those games will be airing on ESPN networks beginning on Friday. And, of course, Vandy will get the winner of this one.
The SEC, Florida beat Auburn 2 out of 3. Arkansas beat South Carolina 2 out of 3 earlier this year. They're matched up.
It's like our home plate umpire Kelly Gonzalez giving a bench warning. to the Sooners. Some chirping going on after that last call, 3rd strike.
Well, it's no secret what you're going to get from Riley Self. That cutter, and Riley Ware kind of got put to sleep with the few that went on the outside corner and then got that one called on him right on the black.
I don't know what that look is Riley Self has. Got the little skunk tail coming out of the back of the hat there. I don't know what you'd call that little look he's got working. But I'm sure it'll catch on. Ground ball, knocked down, foul ball. 1-2 now to Lindsley. Yeah, what do you call that? Come on.
Well, it's a mohawk
with
a dyed blonde.
There's got to be a name for that.
Oh, I don't know. A selfinator? I don't know.
I like selfinator.
Selfinator.
Give me the selfinator. See, the problem is I've got a 12-year-old baseball player. He sees that, and now he's going to want one of those.
He's going to be dyeing his hair tonight.
And now I'm going to be the bad dad who's not going to let him, right?
Why not? That's a good look, man. I'm sure those little 6th graders would dig that.
Yeah. That's lifted in the air to center. Mangum with a good beat on it, and he'll make the catch. 2 outs. Well, those Bulldog fans that have stayed here in Tallahassee and made the trip have been treated to a marvelous run by the Bulldogs. Strike 1 to Thomas Hughes. There's a strike. 0-2 on Thomas Hughes. There it is. The Bulldogs have done it. 8 straight regional elimination game victories. This one will propel them to the Supers to take on Vanderbilt. 8-1 the final score.
For a team, and that coach right there, Gary Henderson, to battle all year long from where they started to where they are now. It's truly remarkable. The Bulldogs pull it off again. Went through the same situation last year, lost the first game, came all the way through and won the regional. And again this year, after getting beat 20-10 in opening night, pick up the pieces and run through this Tallahassee regional this year.